Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is beta episode 18, and before we get too far into it, Tim, you're back. How's your week been?
Yeah, I'm showing up for 2 day episodes in a row.
Two in a row, man. It's a new role. You're doing great.
The week's been okay. We're just trying to get the house ready to sell. Basically, all we're doing.
You moving?
We're just moving to the city over. Closer
Gotcha.
to everything we do.
Gotcha.
Basically.
My week's been rough. It's been real nasty in Spokane area. We've had a couple of fires, so working outside has been trash. My body, throat, eyes. Yeah, no, it's actually been local fires this time, which has been really bad. My wife actually thinks there might be an arsonist nearby because there's been a couple of them that have started in very strange places where a fire wouldn't naturally start. We have a arbitrarium out here that is very well maintained, very well watered, and apparently a fire started there. So, seems kind of questionable. So that's...
We've had people like that out here before. I know what it's like.
Yeah, so that's been great. Over the weekend, the reason, those of you who are joining us on Twitch and watching this on YouTube, the reason we don't have anything prepped is I've spent the last 2 days building a fence. Well, ripping out a fence and putting in a new fence. So I'm pretty exhausted and I didn't have time to do the prep I normally do. To go along with that, I have some corrections from last episode. I accidentally said episode 16 when last week was episode 17. And then to increase the confusion, I totally on accident, on purpose, uploaded the wrong episode. Yep, Tim's over there making retard faces at me. So the proper episode 17, which at the top I say is episode 16, is live. I do say it's episode 16, but you'll know if it's the right episode 16 because I say, hey, we got a guest on the show. It's Tim. So Tim's back to joining us as usual. So let's go ahead with that and jump right into episode 18. And Tim, what do you got for us today? I think you got a good one.
Okay, so it's going to be fun. At the same time, it's really sad at the same time.
It's mostly sad.
It is mostly sad. Basically, Microsoft decided to make a really stupid decision with the Series S. Not the X, Series S.
That's Sierra.
Yes, Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the thing is basically an Xbox One X. It's a little bit more powerful. It has the SSD in it, and it has the better RAM, I believe, and then a couple other small things. But ultimately... Actually, I think in one case it's actually worse than the One X. Now that I remember it correctly, I'm going to have to look that up. In any case...
I'll check into the specs while you're talking.
In any case, it's practically an Xbox One X, which means it's a last-generation device. Xbox, or Microsoft, rather, has a parity requirement. Actually, they have multiple parity requirements. They have one that if the game releases on their platform and... the competitor's platform, it has to be at least as good in content and everything else, or better, meaning it has to have extra stuff in it. Although I think Sony might have that same one. That one's not a big deal. The other one means is if a feature releases on their Xbox One X platform, it also must have the absolute same features, even if the graphics are a little bit worse. No big deal there, but it absolutely has to have the same features as the Xbox One X. The series must have parity with the Xbox One X. And since this launched near 3 years ago now, there's been multiple developers that have been like, yeah, that makes things really difficult because the Series S just isn't up to snuff. It's not the same machine, and therefore there's a reason why it's $200 cheaper. But it makes it difficult on developers to make things happen. And what I'm getting at here is that Baldur's Gate 3 just launched on PC, and it's coming to Xbox and PlayStation pretty shortly, I think.
It's coming to PlayStation confirmed, but that's kind of the point of this. PlayStation 5 to be confirmed.
This is true. So like 4, 5, 6 months ago, I don't remember exactly how long ago, but basically they stated that they were struggling with the Xbox version and that it might not release with the PlayStation at the same time because they couldn't get it on parity on the Series S. Microsoft, roughly at the time, or at least it came out anyways, that Microsoft had sent some Xbox engineers there to help with development to make it happen. It's been quite a while, and just 2 days ago, something like that, Larian Studios, the developers of Baldur's Gate, came out and basically stated that they are still struggling to get the couch co-op to work on Series S, and that they're hoping to get the feature to work by next year, which is after launch date.
Mm-hmm.
Which sort of kind of puts it up in the air. Is it coming out on Xbox on the same day as PlayStation? I mean, they've kind of already said that might not happen months ago. So they haven't outright said as much. Personally, I believe that it would be smarter for Microsoft to make at least a one-time check, which is eventually going to become an all-the-time check, where they just allow it to launch not in parity on the Series S. Remove the feature of couch co-op on Series S and launch it as a single-player RPG, and have them continue to work on that feature and release, say, 5-6 months from now, whatever the necessary time period is, but allow it to come in later. But that parity clause makes it toward Larian Studios is like, well, guess we're just not going to release it on your platform, at least for now, anyways. So yeah, it makes you wonder just how smart of a move was it to release a significantly underpowered platform as your current gen, if it's going to do this to developers. There's been multiple developers that have said this is a problem. I don't remember the Control developers' names, but they've had things to say about it. The guys behind Gotham Knights have had things to say about it, and multiple developers across the industries over the past 3 years have stated that the Series S makes things difficult for them.
Yeah.
And this is just more proof.
So, just looking at this real quick, on paper, the Series S, the Series Sierra, I'm gonna just say S or Sierra because it's just easier. Series Sierra, it's worse than the Xbox One X in some avenues. So it does have a higher gigahertz processor, but not a whole lot. It goes from a 2.3 in the One X to a 3.6, same amount of cores. GPU also loses teraflops. It actually drops 2 teraflops, but it's a different GPU. It's a 1.565 gigahertz custom RDNA 2 GPU versus a custom 1.172 6 teraflops GPU in the One X. It also loses 2 gigabytes of memory, but it upgrades from GDDR5 to GDDR6 in the Series Sierra. So the Series Sierra has DDR6, but it's 2 gigs less than the DDR5 in the One X. Internal storage
creates a bottleneck.
Yeah. Internal storage in the Series Sierra is 512 gigabyte NVMe drive, like we know. The One X is a 1 terabyte drive. It's a HDD, I believe. It doesn't really say here, but it also has
the Series S. I'm pretty sure both of them. I'm pretty sure they do. Both the Series S and the X do have SSDs.
Okay. Well, the Series S has the NVMe RAM, so I don't know if the One X has an NVMe or if it's just a SSD. So I don't know, because those are vastly different, right, in terms of like loading. It doesn't say.
I'm pretty sure that they've stated
it doesn't say on their actual specs here, so I don't know personally. I'm assuming because the One X is so old and NVMe RAMs or drives are pretty new to consoles, I don't think the One X had one, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
So fuck me for Microsoft's stupid as fuck naming convention. I thought you were talking about the Series X, not the One X.
No, it's just trash. The Xbone Xbone X.
No, I'm pretty sure the Xbox One X didn't have an SSD.
Yeah,
so
right.
Take that with a grain of salt. Because that would have made the Series the One X, not the Series X, the One X. It would have made it so much vastly better.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Than the previous One X. Therefore, they couldn't have done that because it would have allowed parity. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Anyways, and then here's the big one, in my opinion. This is where I think the Series Sierra beats the Xbone X. Even though some people will disagree with me, it comes to a latency thing. It is only a 2K machine, the Series Sierra. It does 1440p.
If it can manage that.
True, at best. However,
I watch a lot of tech breakdowns. It doesn't make it very often.
Right, on paper. I'm just going off of paper here. On paper, though, it has up to 120 FPS for its target, which to me, I'll take a lower resolution for a higher frame rate. That said, the Xbone...
Sure there's like 6 games that manage
yeah,
that, by the way.
right. Yeah, like not a huge difference there. Again, on paper, right, looks good. As far as the Xbone X goes, it was full 4K with 60 hertz. So, take your pick. But those are basically the big breakdowns between the two. And looking at the Series S, Series Sierra, yeah, this is just holding everything back. They've got to make so many modifications to games for this generation for this. Why they released this console is beyond me. I genuinely don't understand.
Yeah, I've been saying since they announced it that it was a stupid move. And I mean, like, I'm just a nobody, but Digital Foundry is the people that I go to for my tech breakdown.
Sure. Yeah, they're great for that.
How games work. Mm-hmm. And they're super smart. They break it down way more than most people can understand. But at least it's fun to watch. Anyways, they aren't in my same boat, but I think it's because they talk to developers and stuff like that on a frequent basis. They don't want to alienate anybody.
Sure.
But they've alluded often enough to say that it does hurt. Actually, they released a video, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 days ago, because of this situation about the holding gaming back. And I have yet to watch it, but I'm now that we're having this conversation, I'm curious. Speaking of which, actually, our conversation last week. Now, of course, the topic is escaping me. What was the topic we talked about? The PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 Pro.
Right.
I watched theirs, which is totally different topic. But I watched theirs, and we're practically on the same page as them. They obviously went deeper than we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the practical same page, which I think is really cool.
Nice.
Anyways, they have not a tech breakdown, but they have a conversation about the Series S causing problems, and I'm curious to see what they have to say about it.
That's actually kind of cool. That makes me think we should send last week's video to them in like an email and be like, "Hey man, I think we're on the same wavelength. Let's do some partnerships here. Let's team up a little bit. We can't offer you anything other than that. We obviously know what we're talking about too. We're just normal people, and we know almost. I mean, I don't want to talk myself up that much, but I'm going to say we know almost as much as you. Mike's in the chat. Hey Mike, how you doing tonight?
Right. Yeah, so just the idea of the Series S is, I've been saying it since the beginning, it was stupid, simply because of the hardware specs.
Yeah.
It's going to do nothing but harm developers. And the reason why is because, as we've said before, for various specific games and examples, you have to develop for the lowest common denominator, which means the games are designed for the Series S first.
Right.
It's not as easy to develop something for better hardware and tone it down without adding concessions to your game to where it's not what you want it to be. You have to design for what the target hardware is, and then porting up is better as far as making it easier.
Isn't that's part of the problem with Final Fantasy 14 right now, right? Is because of the code spaghetti, they have to create their high-res model and then dub it down, right? And we see how...
No, they do the opposite.
Oh, they do the opposite. Okay.
They make their shit model and then res it up,
Got
which is the opposite of gaming. Gaming is the opposite. But when they make their games, they make the best model possible.
Right, and then dub it down. Right. That makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. And when you have to tone it so far down to meet the Series Sierra... you hinder the entire generation.
Yeah, you have to start there. It's why a lot of games actually. I honestly believe that the reason, or that the Series S is the reason that just about every single game that releases, even though the Xbox One or Xbox Series X is technically on paper more powerful than the PlayStation 5 in just about all the ways.
Yeah.
For the hard drive anyway. Mm-hmm. It's technically more powerful than the PS5, but almost every single game performs better on PS5. Almost all of them.
Yeah, because it has to be dubbed down for the Series Sierra. Yeah.
Which, I mean, they have to start there and then port it up, and because of that, they're just like, our resources are forcefully divided between two different pieces of hardware. Well, PlayStation, both the systems are exactly the same.
Can I say something going back to an earlier topic from a couple weeks ago? This to me lends even more credence that what we saw at Xbox's press conference was not in-game footage, especially with Fable. With Fable. There is no fucking hell way that there was any chance that Fable was running on any hardware that could actually, like, be ported to the Series Sierra, because it's just so underpowered. The particle physics alone would fucking blow that console up.
it honestly makes me wonder about, actually thinking even deeper. I was about to mention a specific example in Hellblade 2, but it makes you wonder everything they've announced before the Series X came out, except for Halo and a one Forza game, whichever one it was.
Horizon 3, I think, is the newest.
Okay, but every other game is still in development hell. Like, where the fuck are they?
Yeah.
where are they? And now it makes me wonder: is the Series S really just screwing them that bad, or is it just that all they care about is subscription model to this point, and they're I would say, I mean, even Digital Foundry said this the other day. Even they believe that Microsoft doesn't care about the hardware anymore.
Yeah.
They care about the subscriptions, which is abundantly clear. I mean, they're getting rid of the Xbox Live Gold. They're getting rid of Gold
Right.
for some new name.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
instead of
follow that,
getting
but
a
yeah.
yeah. Instead of getting 2 free games every month, they're giving you a collection, kind of like PlayStation when the PS5 first came out. They gave you like 20 games to choose from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Except for the only difference is they're supposed to rotate the games every month rather than leave the same 20 on there for 2 years. So, like it's kind of better, but
yeah.
you don't get to keep anything.
Right. Yeah, it's just new wave renting. Might as well be Blockbuster.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's Blockbuster you can do in your boxers, right? I don't know, man. Like, it makes me wonder what's going to happen moving forward. Like, it's bizarre to me that Microsoft hasn't seen these issues and go, okay, yeah, no, the Series Sierra was a horrible idea. Let's abandon it and just stop supporting it. Like, stop producing it, stop selling it, tell people who have it in an email, hey, we're no longer going to be supporting this system. So you're either going to have to get a Series X or sorry, you have the game catalog you have. Like, it seems wild to me they're still supporting this.
But the problem with that is the Series S is $200 cheaper than the Series X.
And they got to drop the price of the X, man.
Yeah, that would be a smart move. If they got rid of the Series S, that'd be a smart move. They have to drop it down at least $100.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point was going to be was that the Series S is $200 cheaper. That means that guarantees virtually that the Series S is the best-selling series console by a large margin, even though they came out because of the whole Activision bullshit that they've sold like practically nothing in comparison to PlayStation. I think they're at less than 20 million. Like they're not doing well.
No.
Anyways, the majority of them are going to be Series S's for the simple price or the simple fact that it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It's significantly cheaper at that. And so if they were to get rid of the Series X or S, that leaves probably 9 million less or so Xboxes out there, which would just totally flounder them. They might as well give up at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well give up at any point. Like, dude, nothing has been working for Microsoft this gen. Nothing.
No, just go the Sega route and go third party and make your console or your games available.
Please don't. Please don't.
They've talked about doing.
I know,
that
but dude, that's the worst possible thing to happen to console gaming. Is for it. Tell you what, they can die when Henry Cavill makes the Henry Cavalier, our new gaming system we talked about over on Patreon. We need somebody new to enter the fray if Microsoft is going to bail out, man. We do.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a double-edged sword. Like, it would be best for them because then they could focus on games and not on their consoles and all this other stupid shit. But then you have Sony in a league of their own. Yeah, obviously they're not competing with Nintendo.
Yeah,
which that means we have two, which I guess could be a good, but you can't have no competitors.
Right,
obviously,
that's what I mean.
It doesn't work very well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's nothing to stop Sony from going, next console's $800. You want to play games? Give me money. Like, there's nothing to stop them at that point. That is why Microsoft is needed. Like, why I'm so upset about this is because they keep fucking up, and not because I'm a Microsoft fanboy, not because like I want Sony to lose. It's a very simple fact of competition is important to keep prices from monopolizing. We've seen what happens with big ISPs when they buy whole swaths of the countryside, dude. Out here, Comcast owns every bit of coax cable that runs through the entirety of Spokane County. So, like, my ISP, we found a way around that by doing wireless and paying to run fiber. But, like, CenturyLink, a company that's been around forever out here, is dying because they can't get off DSL, because they have no other option but to either pay the massive amount of money to run fiber or to rent coax from Comcast. So, like, competition is important because when you monopolize something, it gives you absolute control and it screws the consumer. So, like, I don't want to see Microsoft go third party if we don't have somebody else for Sony to compete with. If we want to flip flop and we have like Microsoft bows out and goes third party and Sega comes back with the Dreamcast 2, awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
But there has to be a competitor to Sony. And if Sony bows out, there has to be a competitor to Microsoft.
At this point, I don't think Sega would ever come back.
No.
They're still in such a shit state releasing their games.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me want to like move on to the next, not the next topic, but somewhat a related topic. Who could make a new console? Obviously, Apple can't.
Yeah.
I would say Steam can, but they're more worried about competing with the Switch as far as portability goes.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense.
Definitely.
And it's obviously working for them.
Yeah.
But like, would it be Ubisoft? They have a pretty large variety of games that they could make exclusive if they wanted to. Capcom, I guess, could, but
again, man, it's hard to say. Like, I almost think it shouldn't be anybody that's currently developing games, right? Like, because it's not necessarily the exclusivity that you need. Like, it used to be in a time back in the PS2 era, it was God of War, it was Halo, right? Like, that was your competition. That was what defined.
Exclusivity does matter.
It does to an extent, but it doesn't matter for entering the fray. All you need is a good ecosystem, damn good marketing team, and people to adopt your tech. If anybody comes into the market and they can offer the game catalog, right? They can say, hey, all the games that release, like, even if it's going to be a Steam box, right? Like, even if you're going to just run Steam OS on it or whatever, maybe not, but because not everybody plays Steam, but you know what I mean? Like, if you can offer a good ecosystem that can play everything that's out there currently, that your price point is good, that you're able to put the money behind marketing wise to make people interested in your product. Because we have seen other consoles come and go. The Ouya, I think, was one that launched and it died. The reason it died is it was underpowered, man. It was crap. Not to mention it was easily hackable. Like, it was as bad as the.
What was the other one? The other recent console?
Oh God, I don't.
Amazon one? Not the Luna, but it was something else.
Yeah,
that's how bad it was. It came out, it was terrible.
But again, the Ouya, if I'm not mistaken, had the same issue the Dreamcast did, which is what killed Sega. Was it was too easily to hack. You could literally load any game onto a CD-ROM, throw it in your Dreamcast, and you were playing that game. So like you have to go through the work to make a good console, and I don't think it necessarily has to be a known publisher, a known studio to do it. But whoever does enter the fray, like I said jokingly, the Henry Cavalier, man, like, it just has to be done well. So I don't know.
The main thing that I think that you're not putting enough emphasis on for this whole thing to work out is that all those points are true.
Yeah.
The last one, you basically stated that there needs to be an ecosystem of games to play, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the exclusivity comes into play.
Sure.
I mean, that is one of the reasons the PlayStation is selling better than the Xbox.
Right.
They've got a large selection of games constantly coming.
So who I think
not only get there, but
who I think would be a great candidate to release a console that is in the industry, but not necessarily a publisher themselves. We talked about them last episode. Tencent Games. Because they own stock in so many different companies, they could buy in and say,
would they be able to make these games?
They could buy in and say, hey, you're going to make me an exclusive game because I own 85% of your company for our new system that's coming out. Doesn't have to be an existing franchise. But like, I think Tencent, they own so much of the franchise that are in so many different places, they would be prime to release a console. Just a thought.
Interesting. It would totally be interesting to see a Chinese company enter the fray. It makes you wonder. I mean, so I'm in construction, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen some of their construction quality.
Sure.
Where literally they'll take brand new rebar that's in the cement hanging out so they can put more bricks on it, and they'll just break it off with their hands. Like it's
Jesus.
Fucking terrifying how terrible quality that stuff is. It makes me wonder how their consoles could be. Obviously, totally different industries,
sure.
Totally different companies, totally different everything.
Well, Tencent owns, if I'm not mistaken, I know they own at least some, but I'm pretty sure they own a majority stake in Asus, and we know Asus's tech is solid.
It's good. Yeah,
so we've got a good manufacturer there. You get Asus to build the console. They've already done a handheld with the ROG. Or not the ROG Ally, excuse me.
ROG Ally, yeah.
So Mike chimed in here. Tencent already builds and owns an Android MU for the first and third-party mobile games. They're fully capable of launching a mobile-S console. But that's not going to compete with Sony. That's not going to compete with Sony. They need to launch on a system that can be played at home. The handhelds, great.
As much as I love this thing, it's not a competitor to the PS5.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And it's great because they kind of did that with the Ally. So like, if anybody's gonna jump in the fray, I could see it being Tencent. I really could.
But so moving along the same thought process that we're going along is, how long until Sony jumps out of the hardcore market, the hardcore console market, and moves hardcore this. I mean, everybody else is, right?
Yeah.
Practically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nintendo clearly made that. They made it clear that that's a really popular market that people want, especially in our fast-paced world.
Yeah.
Everything is done on the go, and so Steam stepped in and they're like, well, "Why not?" And now there's the Ally, although I don't know how well it's doing.
I haven't looked at sales. Yeah.
With it recently. Yeah. The thing is eventually is that going to be everything?
I don't think that there's a cross section there that's too solid. What I mean there is like mobile gaming. It's unarguable. Mobile gaming is the largest media in gaming. Like it's the most popular because it's the whole world. It's everyone, right? Everybody plays something on their phone or mobile. It is the largest. But I don't feel like
the reason why you see all the main franchises release cell phone versions.
Right.
All of them.
Right. It makes sense from a financial point. Totally get it. But I don't think there's a big cross section between mobile gamers and console gamers. I don't think those paths cross a lot because I also have a Steam Deck. I play it maybe once every couple of months. My brother bought one and sold it because he never touched the damn thing. Like, mobile gaming just isn't... I don't know. I've tried so hard to play. I bought a fucking mobile gaming phone. This is the Diablo Immortal edition of this phone. Sweet. It's a great phone, don't get me wrong, but I've tried so many times to pick up the Diablo Immortal on the phone and play it, and even with a controller, even with even with all of that, I'm like, no, I don't. I'd rather play on a PC. I'd rather play on my couch, on my big TV. Like, I don't feel like there's a big cross section between those two, and I think that will keep Sony and Microsoft, if they figure their shit out, in the console gaming market for a long time. Now, it might be that we're one of the last generations that'll hold out to that, because you see the Zoomers, they're on their phones all the time. Most of them play Fortnite on their phones. Some of them play PUBG. Like, we're definitely in like the minority in terms of the gaming populace at this point.
But while I agree with you about us being in the minority, there's still a large subset of people that care about their console and or PC experience. I don't think it's ever going to go away.
No.
Especially because it's always better. PC or console is always going to be better than a handheld.
Absolutely.
That's just how technology
just
works.
Facts.
You can make your dice smaller, et cetera, and so on. I don't think it's ever going to go away. Like you said, the biggest problem is if Microsoft hops out, that leaves Sony to turn into what they were at the beginning of the PlayStation 3 generation.
Yep.
And I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to do that. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. There has to be competition there. It doesn't matter who, but it has to be competition. I personally would love to see it.
So many people... Go ahead.
I just personally would love to see Asus ROG launch a gaming console. I'd love to see Tencent start taking over and pull games to like make exclusives for it. I think that would be fucking awesome.
It would definitely be cool. We need another competitor out there. The problem is how do you get that realistically? Obviously, no company has believed that they could have a good enough market breakthrough. Yeah. Which is why it hasn't happened. Companies have tried, but every time it's failed. Literally every time for the past like 20 years, every time another company has tried to make something, it's just, nope, sorry, not happening. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo just own the market.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That they can't break in. So obviously people are afraid to put so much investment into something and then more than likely lose it.
You're not wrong. We do need to move on, but before we go, one thing I did want to touch on right there is, there will be a time when the market consolidates, when the gaming market consolidates, and that might change who's able to enter that arena in the hardware tech. So that's all I got to say on that. Especially with Tencent doing stuff, with Microsoft doing stuff, there's a consolidation going on. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So just one small little point. The ROG Ally has already sold about 500,000 units in only a couple of months.
That's not bad.
That's good.
That's not bad.
That's good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So hopefully that means that worst case scenario, hopefully that means that they're going to iterate on it for something better, because they're not forced to stick with what they have like the deck, the Steam Deck.
Right.
They could easily iterate on this next year if they wanted to, but that would obviously not be the smartest. In any case, that hopefully means that they're like, okay, we could potentially break in and maybe do something else.
So speaking of not the smartest, since you gave me a great segue there, I don't know if all of you listeners have heard about this, if you've found out about this. I'm pretty sure most. Yeah, it's a pretty big news story. The submarine that was a commercial, commercial submarine
Submersible.
Yeah, submersible, I guess, that used to go to the Titanic that imploded, that they used a Logitech controller to pilot. Yeah, it turns out it goes a little bit further than that. They were using Second Life to train the pilots. If you don't know what Second Life is, you're probably still living under a rock. It's an MMO where you quote-unquote live a second life. It's a very old one. I'm actually surprised to hear that it's still around. I was blown away when I found out about this. But yeah, this is absolutely factual. The Ocean Gate company thought it was a good idea to train their submersible pilots by playing Second Life. It goes a little bit deeper than that. They built a portion of the game where you could pay literally $1 real, because that's how this game works. You spend real money to buy stuff in Second Life. It's a Second Life. Yeah, you know. It's where you can go cheat on your husband or wife or whatever in virtual space and, you know, live a second life. Anyways, point of the story is they had a demonstration video that showed the movement of the Titan, change the color of the lights, and a horn panic function. As you would pilot it through this section of Second Life, you had to buy into to like get this training before coming to a shipwreck that would be reminiscent of the Titanic. For some reason, they thought this was adequate training to teach pilots. Now, let's be clear. The amount of flight hours that a pilot has to get on a simulator for an aircraft simulator that is a real simulator that has actual controls that you'll be using. Granted, I guess you could argue that they used a Logitech controller in reality, so maybe.
Actually, the controls aren't that hard.
I guess, but
for that device.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, just to add more shit to the fire that is a horrible incident, they used a fucking video game to train their pilots. I don't know what else to say about that. That's just awful. That is negligence to the extreme to think that that's qualifications. Does that mean I can go fly a plane just because I played Flight Simulator on my computer?
So funny little story about that. The Gran Turismo movie that's being made is actually being made about one of their players who trained on Gran Turismo.
Right.
And long story short, ended up becoming a real the race movie, whatever that's called. And he ended up like winning and stuff like that. It's not the same thing as putting yourself 13,000 feet or however far it is under the water, under like the most harsh conditions, dangerous conditions you can imagine.
It's the difference between using apparatics that have haptic feedback being in simulations, because GT has always been super sim. Like, there was that battle between Forza and GT for a long time. There's a reason Forza no longer makes sim racing. They go arcade sim. It's because GT's better. They won that throne. They own that throne. So if you invest the money, dude, you can... Granted, there's a huge difference between driving a real car and driving a sim. You can get pretty damn close to reality if you want to invest in your setup. But that is very different than using a controller and being under thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure of ocean water and having other people's lives in your hands. I
didn't watch the whole documentary with... I was going to say Tim Burton, but I know that's incorrect. The dude that made Titanic.
James Cameron.
Yeah. James Cameron. James Cameron, he's actually kind of an expert on submersibles.
Yeah.
Mostly because he's taken, like, maybe that's where the 13th statistic comes in. He's taken multiple trips, quite a few trips to the Titanic, and actually made sure that they were all safe and whatnot. He basically consulted for what happened.
He also went to the Marianas Trench. He did that as well.
He's been underwater a lot.
He did have a comment about this. He said, "I don't respond to offensive rumors in the media. James Cameron says he will never make a Netflix show to make money over the tragic deaths of the Ocean Gate passengers." So, yeah, that'd just be a really bad choice. So we have a quote here from someone at Ocean Gate I want to read. This is a direct quote from the article on fandomwire.com. I'll have this linked in the description of the show if you guys want to read this article for yourself. "We chose Second Life as our medium for this tour because it allows us to design high-fidelity interactions between our audience, the submersible, and the underwater environment. Our virtual environments give our audience a strong sense of social and spatial presence through their interactions with the environment and their ability to communicate with one another in parallel. I'm sorry, but VR is not at a point where there's ever a moment where I'm like, wow, I really feel like I'm underwater.
No, not water. You can feel like you're somewhere, but not water.
Yeah.
No.
You're not going to get the cold, you're not going to get the dark, you're not going to get the noises that I mean, you can program in some fucking noises, but it doesn't feel the same.
It's not the same. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore VR. When I get a chance to play it, especially if it's done well, you feel like you're there, and it is really, really good. You can absolutely trick your brain. That's why so many people get sick when they play, because their brain doesn't know what the fuck to do with the information when their body's not moving.
Right.
Anyways, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Anywhere close.
Mike said in chat, James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. That's good.
Will Smith.
Yeah, how many Smiths will Will Smith with Will Smiths? Yeah. Oh shit.
It was basically just a whole bunch of stupid decisions, one after another.
Yeah.
And the fact that they used an old MMO to do so, even with VR, is a strange choice.
It's a bad choice. It's not even a strange choice. It's just straight up, dude, again, if this company comes out without being sued for neglect, like just negligence in general, I don't understand why they thought that was qualifications. I don't get it.
Given what they were charging for dives, I'm sure they can defend themselves.
True. It does say here, so I've got some mismatched information here as far as how many times the submersible went under. It's entirely possible that it didn't happen by pilot error. We, to my knowledge, still don't know. It could have been an inspection issue where they didn't thoroughly inspect the craft, but I've got two different sources here, one from Wikipedia and one from metro.co.uk. Metro says that there were 3 trips in the Titan to the Titanic over the course of 2021 to 2023. One a year. Wikipedia, which also cites an article from NY Magazine, so I'm a little bit more inclined to believe, says that there were 5 missions that took place between 2021 and 2022. So I don't know which one's accurate, but we've got some correlating information here. It sounds like it's entirely possible that it was just poor inspection of the craft. There was a hull breach, something wasn't inspected properly. Who knows?
I watched a few videos on it because I was interested, and my understanding is it was an inspection, a poor inspection, because they actually, to my understanding, kind of refused to properly inspect it after dives.
Jesus Christ!
Like pretty much on purpose. That way they could do more, and I that was partially why it happened. They got pretty close to the depth of the Titanic, and it imploded on itself. Which the only good comforting thing about it is that it happened in less than a millisecond, and it takes about 100 milliseconds for you to even realize anything's happening, and so it was just
instantaneous. It's like standing under a nuke exploding. You just don't exist. So at least it was quick and painless. There was no like hull breach and they drowned it like you see in the movie or something like that. It was just pretty instantaneous. That shit blows me away, dude.
Terrible tragedy. I mean, I can only imagine how they managed to get away being so poor in their design and inspection and everything else. I guess that just goes to show you, if you're a billionaire, you can do practically whatever you want to.
So it reminds me of, I've been listening to a lot of paranormal podcasts in my spare time because I fucking love them. One of my favorites, Chilluminati podcast. If you guys haven't listened to it, check it out. It's fucking great. There's 2 guys that want to believe everything, and then one guy like me who's skeptical of everything. But they talked about the Mothman a little while ago and the Silver Bridge collapse and how it was all a result of basic neglect. Like their inspections on that bridge were literally just some guys they flew in who, like, this was a side job. They gave them fucking binoculars to look at the bridge and go, yeah, it looks good. Like, that's the level of inspection you do. No fucking wonder it collapsed. Like, what? So,
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the level of inspection they did.
I personally do true crime podcasts because they're fun.
Those are great too.
Crime Junkie is what I tend to listen to. Just
nice.
If you haven't.
Yeah. I will check them out for sure. So let's move on to our next topic, Tim. We've got kind of in the same boat of Microsoft making bad choices. I think we continue to harp on them, but like they keep doing dumb shit. So it's kind of hard not to talk about them, especially when the news is slow for a week. Starfield's already on sale. It's to be fair, it's in the UK and it's on sale, but it's already on sale. It is currently on hit.co.uk right now for £52.85, which for us Americans, what the fuck does that mean? That's $21 off. It's not a small discount. That's almost a quarter of the cost of the game off. Actually, I'd say almost a third of the game off, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty close to a third.
About a third of the game off.
I actually do have a teeny tiny little bit of extra information on this, and not because of Starfield. I actually have it because of Sony. Interestingly enough,
interesting.
That I was listening to Get This Digital Foundry episode.
Whoa! No way.
Yeah, right. The episode was pretty much all about PlayStation, just because there was so much PlayStation news. But long story short, the UK pound is actually worth a lot right now. Its strength is high. Yeah. Which I don't understand this because I don't do finance like this, but apparently if the value of the dollar is high, then products tend to drop in price, that's why it doesnn't make sense to me. You think if the value is high, the prices would go up, but that's what they said. So whatever. Sure. And the reason why this actually doesn't not completely make sense is because they've got the PlayStation on ridiculously good sale too. I think it's currently the PlayStation is like 50 to 60 pounds off, but also comes with a controller and also comes with a game. So like they're like, holy shit, this deal is amazing. Yeah. And they were talking about how even their controllers are crazy discounted compared to the way they are here. Like I think they said there's one, the white controller for them is like 40 pounds at the moment, which for us is like $20. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that would be why Starfield is on sale over there, is because their people can afford it. The conversion over there is wild too. So from my time in Scotland, it's not as simple as the conversion. The pound actually just genuinely goes further over there than the dollar does here. It's really weird. So like, yes, on paper right now the pound is 1.27 US dollars, but like it also goes further. To put it in perspective, my wife and I went out to dinner when we were in Edinburgh, had this big fancy dinner. I expected it to be like at least 200 pounds. The tab was 100 pounds, like flat. That was including like tip and everything, 100 pounds. And like 4-course dinner. We had appetizers. We had our main or 3-course dinner. Excuse me. Appetizers, our main dinner, drinks, and dessert. And it was like 100 pounds. And this was if you're familiar with it, if anybody out there is internationally traveled to Edinburgh, it's the Witchery. It's literally right next to Edinburgh Castle. J.K. Rowling's been there. Like it's an upscale restaurant. It's equivalent to like a 5-star here. Like crazy. I can attest because I went to a 5-star restaurant like 2 weeks ago. That shit cost a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not fucking cheap. So like the pound there just goes further as well, which is just really bizarre. But yeah, it looks like historically it is definitely up. At its lowest for the last year, I guess, was September 2022. It was 1.08 pounds to a dollar. So it's up almost 20 cents on top of that. So it's up pretty high.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well for itself. Which, like I said, I don't understand why it being worth more means prices are cheaper. But like you said, it's more about the dollar going farther. So like another perspective to put it into is, imagine here you take $5 to buy a gallon of milk, but over there you're going to spend
£2 pounds.
For the same amount,
yeah, two pounds. £2.50.
£2, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just you can buy more with less over there, and
yeah.
I guess that's why
the only
discount products because they don't need as much money. I don't know.
The only place that doesn't work is gas, because over there petrol is paid by liter, and it's fucking awful.
When I was in Ireland in 2016, that shit was. I remember seeing the price, and it said, "We'll just say an example, $3 per gallon." Obviously, that's not what it was, but $3 not per gallon per liter, and I was like, "Oh, that's cheaper than America."
Psych.
Bought a tank.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can only imagine what it is now. But yeah.
When I went in 2018, it was about 4 pounds a liter, I think. So who knows where it's at now? Who knows? Especially with the push for electric vehicles and all that. But
and you got that pipeline that exploded last year, or that was attacked last year, and I'm sure that screwed some things up too.
Sure. But at the end of the day, man, why the hell is Starfield already on sale? Like, the game just came out. It's not even a month old.
No, it's not out yet. It comes out in September. Game's not even out yet.
How is it on? Oh, it must be like a pre-order discount. Okay, that's even
Pre-orders,
fucking
yeah,
wilder.
pre-orders.
That's even fucking wilder.
The game's not even out yet. And I mean, I've seen games before they come out go on sale, but they're usually like $5 off.
Yeah, they're a couple.
$10.
Yeah, but $27 off basically.
Like a 35% discount. Something
Yeah,
like that.
that's
pretty intense.
And I think again, it just comes down to Game Pass cannibalizes sales. So in order to get people to buy the game, they have to reduce the cost of the game because. Honestly, I'm probably not going to buy it. When I'm ready to play it, guess what I'm going to do? Sign up for motherfucking Game Pass. Like,
right?
Why would I buy anything from Microsoft? Why?
No, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft has said this on more than one occasion that it's not sustainable, and multiple developers have said on more than one occasion it hurts their sales. It doesn't help them in the long term.
Yeah.
Unless Microsoft gives them a nice bonus up front, which of course they're going to if they're going to launch it on their thing. But is it enough to offset what the potential for the game could be?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. At the very same time, we've seen multiple games release on the platform and get a whole bunch of players because of it. But that's because it's free.
Yeah, or
Like,
significantly cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, why not give it a shot? But the thing is, one thing that I'm now thinking about, they've never talked about how many of those players it sustains. How long do they stay on that game? Is it just a quick influx and then they go away? I don't know.
Who knows? But that's where we're going to leave you guys tonight. We do appreciate you listening in. As always, you can watch us live Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time, where we record these on Twitch. Mike's usually in here chatting with us, just putting in his 2 cents as he did again tonight. That is at twitch.tv/CoinDropVets. You can also listen to these on Wednesday on YouTube at youtube.com/CoinDropVods. That's Victor, Oscar, Charlie. Yeah. Delta. Sorry. What? Vok? Apparently it's Vok. It's VODs. Look, man, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Shut the hell up. CoinDrop VODs. They will post Wednesday. Again, I apologize for the confusion from the last episode. I uploaded the wrong episode. It is a whole fucking mess. But thanks again for listening and watching. Come chat with us on Discord. And please consider checking out our Patreon. Maybe check it out. It's $3 a month. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. It's patreon.com/CoinDropPod. Check it out. You get some extra content over there. And yeah, hit us up on Discord. Have a great night, everyone.
Get you on the podcast.
You might even get you on the podcast. At least take a look. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good stuff.